Let's talk about something that has quietly and sometimes even loudly divided Nigerians for decades: the Yoruba versus Igbo tension. If you spend any time on social media today, Twitter, TikTok, even YouTube comment sections, you'll see it. Arguments, insults, historical accusations being thrown back and forth. And honestly, it's sad, because if you look at Nigeria from a strategic point of view, Igbo and Yoruba people should be natural allies, but instead, we often behave like enemies. So the question is, what exactly is this fight about? Where did it start? And more importantly, why is it still continuing today? To understand this issue, we have to go back, not to social media, not to modern politics, but back to history, pre-independence and post-independence Nigeria. One of the earliest flashpoints in Nigeria was in 1951. At the time, Nnamdi Azikiwe, he was the leader of the NCNC. He had strong political influence in the Western region. But something happened. There was what many people described as an overnight political shift, where a significant number of Yoruba politicians, they aligned themselves with the newly formed action group led by Awolowo. This move changed the political balance in the West. It forced the NCNC into a minority position there. And as a result, Nnamdi Azikiwe had to abandon his ambition of becoming premier of the Western region and return to the East, where interestingly, he displaced Iyo Ita, who was already leading in the NCNC in the East. Now, on a lighter note, right, who will speak for Iyo Ita? But that's a conversation for another day. But back to the point, right? For many Igbo people, that moment was seen as a political betrayal. Fast forward to the late 1960s. Nigeria is on the brink. Tensions are high. And then comes one of the most defining moments in Nigerian history, the Biafran War. But before the declaration of Biafra, Odumogo Ojukwu, he had consultations, including with Obafemi Awolowo. Now here is where there is a lot of different interpretations, right? Some people believe Awolowo's position was diplomatic, that he tried to persuade Ojukwu not to secede. Others believe Ojukwu interpreted the engagement differently, possibly expecting some support from Awolowo. But when the war began, Awolowo aligned with the federal government, right? And for many Biafran supporters, that moment was seen as another betrayal. And that's why you see them till this day. Anybody who they don't agree with, saboteur. That's what they call the person. Now let's flip the perspective, because this tension is not one-sided, right? Many non-Igbo Nigerians, including Yoruba people, they hold their own grievances. One major one is the 1966 coup. The coup that was largely led by Igbo officers, and the victims, mostly non-Igbo political leaders. No prominent Igbo political leader was killed in that coup. That perception, whether fully accurate or not, right? It created a narrative that labeled the coup as an Igbo coup. And from there, a dangerous sentiment grew that Igbos were traitors to the Nigerian state, right? Then came Biafra and then the war. And those events combined and deepened the mistrust on all sides, right? But here's the real question. All of this happened decades ago. So why? Why are we still fighting these battles today? Because when you look at modern Nigeria, the reality tells a different story. The reality of today is that Igbo people are everywhere in Nigeria, trading, building businesses, creating value. And nowhere is this more visible than in Lagos, a Yoruba state and Nigeria's commercial capital, right? If there was truly deep hatred, would this be possible? Think about it, right? Just think about it for a second. There's also a high level of intermarriage between Igbo and Yoruba people, more than most other tribal combinations in Nigeria. Families are mixed, cultures are shared, lives are intertwined. So clearly, on a people-to-people level, the relationship is not as hostile as social media makes it to seem. Now, after the Biafran War ended in 1970, something important happened, right? Many Igbo people who had fled Lagos, they returned back to Lagos. And they were not just welcomed. In many cases, they were given back their lands and properties. Even income-generating properties, profits that had accumulated, they were returned to their rightful owners. Now, compare that to what happened in other parts of Nigeria, particularly in areas like Rivers State, right? Where Igbo properties were seized under the abandoned property policy of Nigeria at the time, which was also led by David Mark, the former Senate president. A committee was set up and those properties were redistributed. Many Igbo families never recovered their assets, right? But this part of history is not often highlighted, and when history is told selectively, it feeds bias. Now let's bring it to the present. Because history alone is not sustaining this tension, right? Modern voices are responsible. People who continue to fuel division. People who benefit from keeping tribes at odds. And in my opinion, individuals like Nnamdi Kanu, through platforms that he had like Radio Biafra, they played a role in amplifying this hostility by constantly pushing narratives of Fulani are the problem, Yoruba people are betrayers. You know, these were the narratives he was pushing. And when you push this type of narratives, you create a mindset of permanent victimhood and permanent enemies. And that is dangerous because it prevents progress. Here's my personal take, right? And I'm going to be very honest. I don't see any logical reason why this animosity should still exist today. We were not a part of these or those decisions. We did not ask for the 1966 coup. We did not ask for the declaration of Biafra or the political conflicts of the 1950s. So why are we carrying the emotional weight of decisions made before many of us were even born, right? If we are serious about progress in the South, especially in the South, right, then we need to start thinking strategically, not emotionally. Because the truth is, Igbo political success in Nigeria is almost impossible without alliance. And who is the most natural alliance, that we have in the South? The Yoruba people. Not because of sentiment, but because of strategy. Numbers matter. Coalitions matter. Politics is about alignment of interests. And if the South remains divided, it weakens itself. Here's my final thought on this, right? Some people say it's time for Nigeria to have an Igbo president, and I agree. It's a valid aspiration. But aspirations alone don't win elections. Strategy does. And strategy requires unity, alliances, letting go of outdated grievances. Because the simple truth is this, right? We cannot build the future if we are still fighting the past. And if Igbo and Yoruba people ever truly align, not just socially, but politically, that alliance could reshape Nigeria. And the final question that I have for today is this, right? Are we ready to move forward, or are we still trapped in history? Anyway, if you enjoyed this episode, please feel free to share, subscribe, turn on the notification bell, and until next time, my name is Kachi, and this is the Beer Parlour Podcast. Peace!